The views expressed in this program do not necessarily reflect those of this station.
Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those in the community as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to Insights. I'm Sherry Stewart. Today we're joined by Dr. Daniil Manayankov. He is a research economist with the University of Michigan. Dr. Manayankov has been involved with forecasting for the U.S. economy. And he is here today to talk with us about the $2 trillion stimulus package that was recently signed by the president. We'll be talking about what's in it for you and what it means for our economy going forward. So, Doctor, I want to thank you for joining us today for this episode of Insights. And we want to jump right into this stimulus package. And there are a lot of things in it, but I believe what most people want to know is the WIFM, what's in it for me. So can you explain what everyday folks can expect to see? We're hearing that it's $1,200 for individuals, $2,400 for married couples, and there is an additional $500 per child. So can you explain how all that breaks out for us in this stimulus package?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. So that's one big part of the bill. People making under $150,000 a year will get basically $1,200 per adult, and $500 for child, and that will basically come the same way that your tax refund comes. So if you filed taxes this year already, it will be based on your 2019 returns. If you haven't filed yet, it will be based on your 2018 return. And this will basically come the way that you get your regular tax refund. So it will be either a check or a direct deposit. Timing, they are trying to time this fairly quickly, so I'm expecting this type of help to households come hopefully in April. Mm-hmm. Technically, this is a advance on a tax refund on calendar year 2020. So if folks are making too much this year, made too much last year, but their incomes fall this year, they'll have to wait until a year from now to claim it. But most people will probably get it within the next several weeks.
Okay. Now, the headlines that we see, Doctor, it says that many Americans will get the $1,200. So many doesn't say all. So can you explain to us who is being excluded or who is excluded in this stimulus package? So
people who have not had to file tax returns in the past years may have to submit a return for this to reach them. Mm-hmm. So if your income was under minimum reporting standards, which I believe is about $3,000 a year, mm-hmm. you may have to submit a return.
Okay. And so let's back up a little bit. You said that some people will get it. You said this is an advance. Is it an advance on filings for this year, or could you explain that a little bit more?
So this is going to be a refundable tax credit for calendar year 2020.
Okay.
And they are rolling it out early, basically. So it is currently based, so basically what is going to come out is going to be based on your most recent tax return. But if somehow you made, $50,000 last year, but this year your return, your income doubles for some reason, mm-hmm. you will expect probably to pay back some of what you did pay. But for most folks, it's not going to be the case. So for a lot of people, the income is fairly stable, and this is going to be a tough year, so it's hard to see many people benefiting this year. So for, I would say 99% of people, they're going to get the full amount unless they are over the cap already.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know, Doctor, you have an extensive background in forecasting for the U.S. economy. Were you surprised by this package? What are your thoughts on this stimulus package?
This is not surprising. the prior recession saw something similar. I think in 2008 we had some early stimulus that gave, I think, about $300. The sudden stop in economic activity we're experiencing due to shelter-in-place laws is probably going to be more violent, but probably more. It's going to last not as long. I don't know if it's your plan to talk about the expanded unemployment insurance later on, but I think the unemployment insurance changes are a lot more important, and those I would have not expected to happen in any other circumstance. So if there is if you were planning on talking about unemployment insurance extension and expansion, we can talk when you were to get into. Otherwise, I can just talk a little bit about that right now.
Yeah, if you could go into that. Yeah, if you could go into that before we head to our first break, a little bit what is actually included in those extended unemployment benefits.
Okay, so first of all, there is an expansion of normal duration of unemployment. So the federal government is going to waive 1 week of wait time at the beginning. That was customary before, but it's also going to add a few weeks at the back. So people will be eligible for unemployment at least through the rest of this year. Second, a lot of people will be eligible who weren't eligible before. So, you will be able to claim unemployment if you are self-employed, if you cannot go to work for the public transport is shut down, or your workplace is closed due to the shelter-in-place law. So basically, there is a vast expansion of eligibility. So I want to say this to folks who have not thought they'd be eligible to claim UI before, to go and file. So basically, almost everybody who was not eligible for unemployment before is going to be eligible at least in the next several months. So, and another important addition is that people are going to get extra on top of what they normally get. So in Michigan, currently, the maximum rate people are getting is about $400 per week. The federal government is going to add $600 for that per week on top for 4 months or as long as people are unemployed. So this is going to help a lot of people once it gets here. Unfortunately, I think it may take a while because there's a huge ramp up. So people who are normally eligible and have been, the system is set up for them. So if you are regular, hourly worker who used to claim, who used to be eligible, you probably expect to see those extra 600 fairly soon. For newly eligible people, the systems are not yet designed to handle them, so it may take several weeks for that to get processed. So, everybody at the unemployment office is completely overwhelmed at the moment.
Yeah, that's what we've been hearing, that they've had to make some upgrades on the system in order to handle the volume. We're going to pick up the conversation, Doctor. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more insights right after this. Welcome back to Insights. Joining us today via Zoom meeting is Dr. Daniil Manayankov. He is a research economist at the University of Michigan. Doctor has done extensive forecasting of the U.S. economy, so he is here to break down the stimulus package for all of us today. And at the break, we were talking about the extended unemployment benefits, as you were saying, those that were not traditionally eligible for unemployment benefits, that now they should go ahead and file, correct?
Yes, and given that the systems are being stressed, I'm pretty sure there is a strong request for people to do this in batches. I think some states are doing this by the last digits of Social Security. I think in Michigan is doing this by the first letter of your last name.
Yes, it is.
So I think the first 3 days of the week are distributed by the first letter of your last name, and then Thursday and Friday are for everybody to catch up who has not been able to file in a timely manner based on their last name. I think that's accurate.
Right.
So the extra benefits are expected to last until the end of July. So I would advise people to file as soon as possible, still complying with the request that the Department of Labor asked people to follow. Another very important feature of the emergency bill basically is aimed at small businesses, and I don't know if this is extremely important. So the government is providing emergency loans to small businesses through their regular banking institutions, but with the backing of Small Business Administration, which will cover 2 months of payroll and rent, mortgage, and utility pay for free. So basically, the loan that covers that for 2 months will be forgiven if small businesses return their employment levels close to what they've been prior to the whole situation. Our problem is that we have to preserve the relationship that existed in the economy prior to the epidemic. So this is of utmost importance, and the bill basically provides a strong incentive for small businesses under 500 employees to try to preserve the relationship between them and their employees. So basically, everybody who owns a small business should be in contact with their banking institution and the Small Business Administration to see how soon they can acquire those loans.
Now, sir, do you know if, I had this question, do you know if those loans are available for those that run online businesses? I had someone ask me that recently too. Is there some type of breakdown in terms of the small businesses that are qualified for that type of loan?
So I'm not 100% sure. I think you have, if you're already registered with the Small Business Administration, it should be easy.
Sure.
Otherwise, there's probably some paperwork to show that you've been in operation for a while, show some tax returns, and show some other supporting documentation. But the loans should be backed by the Small Business Administration. I think the interest rate is capped at around 4%.
Okay.
They are not collateralized, but they basically are meant to go through the financial institution that the small business already has an existing relationship with.
Okay.
So the small businesses are probably a little bit overwhelmed at the moment, but it still makes sense to contact your financial institution and try to figure out how soon can you get that kind of help to keep your business running and open. Because the biggest threat from this epidemic is that a lot of small businesses will not be able to weather it, and that there'll be no jobs to go back to.
Right.
So
that is a major
ideally,
concern.
Yeah. If we could just stop time for a few months and just provide everybody with, food and utilities and reset, that'll be ideal. But sadly, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
So so Congress tried to provide some strong incentives for people to preserve their level of employment. On top of that, there is also tax credit that will be available for businesses who suffer more than 50% decline in their revenue in the current quarter, and they will get to write off a part of their payroll bill at the end of the year. So basically, there's an extra carrot for people who will suffer significant revenue decline. So it's another important part of the bill that will benefit people in basically local communities.
We're going to take a quick pause here and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Insights. We're continuing our conversation with Dr. Manayan Cove from the University of Michigan, talking about the $2 trillion stimulus package and what that means for you. Now, sir, question about this this economic package. It is unprecedented, of course. It is $2 trillion, and I believe maybe one of the questions that people will have is how are we actually going to pay for this? How is our government? How are we going to pay for this? So, are we going to be looking at? Is it your expectation or forecasting that we will end up paying for this on the back end? Will we see higher interest rates? Will we see taxes go up as we eventually come out, whenever that will be? We obviously don't really know that, but is this something that we should be looking at for down the road several months from now?
It's a concern, but not a pressing concern. So it does not deserve as much attention. I mean, it deserves about as much attention as concerns about paying for corporate tax reform that we went through just 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. So,
but even in that, the outcry with the corporate with that is that the corporations were the one that were benefiting, that it really didn't benefit everyday working families. And so that is always still a concern when we have these stimulus economic packages, whatever we end up calling them. And so that's some of the questions that we're getting is on the back end. How will this, do you foresee this really impacting families? Right now, it's a good thing. Certainly, if you're out of work and you're expecting $1,200, that is great news. But realistically, we do have to pay the piper at some point. So where do you foresee that happening?
So historically, at least, and theoretically, it's possible that taxes will have to come up at some point mm-hmm. on some proportion of population or businesses. I would start looking at so basically we have an example of a country that has a minor reserve currency that had to spend a lot of borrowed money, which is Japan, which has public debt several times that of the United States relative to the size of its economy. Mm-hmm. And we are not seeing any dramatic moves there to start raising taxes to close or to lower their debt. So it's at some point we may have to start raising taxes. When does that happen? It's probably far away into the future. Mm-hmm. So ultimately we will have to, but maybe this is not an immediate concern.
Maybe the immediate concern, I guess, is to get us the economy, to get currency moving again. So
yes. So historically, United States has significantly lowered the level of debt to GDP after the Second World War mm-hmm. through somewhat faster than average inflation. Okay. So basically, if we are able to get the economy going again, mm-hmm. then maybe for several years we can let the economy run hot a little bit, and that typically eats away at the value of debt relative to the economy. So it will be likely an inflation tax rather than an increase in outright personal income tax bracket. Mm. So it will probably eat through inflation, hopefully.
So I guess lastly, as we wrap up today, sir, do you think this is a good thing? Was this obviously the government felt that they needed to do something? Do you believe that they did the right thing? Are the right numbers in here in your estimation?
That was definitely necessary. Mm-hmm. I think there will be further action required. So what's been enacted so far basically plugs up the holes in individual balance sheets and corporate and small business balance sheets to some extent. Mm-hmm. What's not been done yet is to help states and municipalities and local districts to cover up the lost sales tax revenues and whatever else is coming our way through a slower economy over the next several quarters. So mm-hmm. that's a major to-do list for Congress, and I'm hopeful that it will happen over the next month or two. Because without it, we basically will have to see some significant cuts to local services, which typically means teachers. Mm-hmm. So
Well, we certainly hope that doesn't happen, because we
Congress will
definitely,
act on this as well.
yeah, we definitely need our educators, so we're hoping that that doesn't happen, sir. But we will definitely like to have you back again to talk with us about these important issues as a forecaster with the economy. We want to thank you today for joining us via Zoom meeting.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Doctor. Well, that wraps up today's Insight. We want to thank you for joining us today to talk about the economic stimulus package. If you have a question, comment, or story idea for us here at Insights, email us at news@wbkb11.com. I'm Sherry Stewart. Have a great week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. If you have any comments, suggestions, or topics you would like to see on a future show, please email WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.